Hello and welcome to the BioStock studio here at Medicom Village in Lund. Today we're joined via video link by deBethizy. Don is the chairman of the board of directors for Saniona, a biotech company headquartered in the US in Boston and focused on developing drug treatments for rare eating disorders like Prader-Willi syndrome and hypothalamic obesity. Don is here today to tell us more about Saniona's recent news about their clinical development program involving Tesomet, their top candidate. He will also be discussing the latest appointments to the company's executive team, as well as his goal for attracting the best talent for Saniona. Welcome, Don.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, let's start out with telling us a little bit more about your background, if you could.
Sure. I have a PhD in toxicology originally and have worked in life sciences now for over 30 years. And started my first biotech company in the U.S. in North Carolina. It was called Targacept. We took it public on the U.S. NASDAQ, was focused on central nervous system diseases. And then in 2012, I moved to Copenhagen, Denmark, and started over again, really. And I became CEO of Santaris Pharma, which was an antisense company. And in the midst of taking that company public on the US NASDAQ, we were bought by Roche. So that was a great outcome for the investors, and they were quite happy. And that catalyzed a board career for me, essentially. So I have been serving on numerous boards around Europe. And most notably, I'm on the Argenx board, the Saniona board, Neuron. So there's a number of public companies that I'm on the board of.
Great, well, thanks. And so I also wanted to ask you, what attracted you to join Saniona's team as chairman of the board back in 2018?
Well, I have a colleague. His name's Klaus Brestrup. He used to be the CEO of Lundbeck, and Klaus was on my board at Santaris Pharma. And we both live in the same area in Copenhagen, and he had been coming over for coffee and talking to me about Saniona. And they were mostly preclinical when he was first talking to me about Saniona. I knew Joran Dreyer, so I knew about the company. And then he came over very excited over Tesomet. And he really wanted me, he was chair at the time, and he really wanted me to take over his chair because he recognized that the company really needed a transformation, like I had done at Santaris Pharma, or at least initiated. And he knew that I knew how to do it, that I had done it before, and it had resulted in a good outcome for shareholders with Santaris Pharma. I had also done something similar with Argenx, not as chair, but being on the board over the last 5 years, where we took the company to the U.S. NASDAQ. So that was the conversation that led me for Klaus to hand the reins over to me in early 2018, and that is. As I got there, I realized that the transformation was going to take some time, and we're well along in that path now. I'm quite excited about the progress we've made.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. So I wanted to move on and talk about the latest press release, which is about receiving feedback from the FDA regarding Tesomet's clinical development program. And I was just wondering if you could summarize what that feedback was.
Yes, we, as you know, as I mentioned, we've been building our team out, and we hired our chief medical officer in May of this year, Rudy Baumgartner, and we decided that we would do pre-IND meetings on both Prader-Willi syndrome as well as hypothalamic obesity, and And we recently received feedback on both interactions, or our initial interactions with the agency. All of our work historically on Tesomet has been done in Europe. So this is our way now to move into the large commercial market area and develop the compounds for the U.S. market. So you have to start with the FDA. And the good news coming out of this feedback for Prader-Willi syndrome is that Saniona now has a clear path forward for Tesomet as a novel treatment for this very significant unmet need. And we expect to begin starting our phase 2b study in the first half of 2021. In hypothalamic obesity, we knew that we would be going to a different division with hypothalamic obesity, the metabolic division. And we are currently now seeking a physical meeting with the agency. It'll probably be virtual, but it'll be a meeting as we do during this pandemic time. And this is to clarify the path forward for hypothalamic obesity. So we had our written interaction to the agency. They gave us their written feedback. And it's always good to start with a pre-IND meeting because you want to be the advocate for your compound and in this rare disease. So we got good feedback from them, clear feedback. They were quite responsive, which is always encouraging, and they recognize the unmet need in hypothalamic obesity. And I think it's important to note that in both these indications, PWS and HO, there are no current treatments that are specifically approved in this area. So we are paving the path, paving the road towards approval and development. And this is the exciting part for us now, is to be interacting with the agency.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's great. And linked to that, I was wondering, will this bring any delays regarding bringing Tesomet to the market? And also, what is the likely budget impact going forward?
Well, the important thing now is that Saniona has a clear path for Tesomet in the treatment of Prader-Willi syndrome. And we have done quite a bit of work already in Prader-Willi, and we expect to begin the phase 2b study in the first half of 2021. So that's moving forward now. In HO, as I said just previously, is we really need as quickly as possible to get a meeting with the FDA so we can clarify our path forward. And this will be our first face-to-face discussion with the FDA on this indication. And then we'll be assessing any impact on timelines and budgets at that time. So we put the press release out because this was important information. We're just bringing shareholders along with us as we continue on this journey. So we're right at the beginning of the regulatory interaction, pre-IND meeting. Now we'll have a face-to-face meeting, take their feedback and digest it. It's what we've been doing. And now we'll get set up for advocating a very expeditious path towards the market and towards approval.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. And you also mentioned that Saniona has taken steps to strengthen its executive team, and it's done so by making some key hires. Furthermore, at the extraordinary general meeting that will be held in Malmo, Sweden next week, actually, on October 23rd, the company will decide on an equity incentive plan that will be competitive in a U.S. context. Do you have plans for further team growth as you advance Tesomet and your pipeline forward? And what do your overall vision for attracting the best talents to the company?
Well, thank you, Michael, for that comprehensive question. And I might remind our audience that Saniona has raised $65 million recently in a very well-funded, and we're a very well-funded company now. And this allows us to build the company. It's been a challenge at Saniona. We have contracted out much of the work in development. And it's quite difficult to move in a very concerted and efficient way. You really need the expertise in-house, but we were always challenged financially to be able to do that. So now with the new investors coming in, bringing significant money, they recognize the importance of building out a team. And we've been very fortunate. We worked very hard. I have quite a bit of experience in compensation, having worked with a number of companies as chair of their compensation committee over the last 5 years. One notable company that I've been involved as chair of compensation is Argenx, and we're following a similar plan where we are putting together very competitive salary packages as well as equity incentive packages. And as you build out a team, so in January of this year, we hired Rami Levine, our CEO, and that really we were very fortunate that Rami was willing to join Saniona at our stage of development because he has tremendous rare disease experience, having been head of and president of North America for Sobi, the Swedish orphan biotech company. So we're very fortunate, and he was able to attract, I already mentioned our chief medical officer in May, and then very recently, we have been able to attract a chief financial officer, our chief communication officer, as well as our chief human resources officer. And that's really along with Joran Dreyer, our chief scientific officer, who has tremendous experience in biotech. This team is now moving very rapidly. In order to attract that team in a very competitive market like Boston, it was very important that we have competitive packages. And these, each of the people in these positions had lots of other opportunities. Some were in jobs, some were just wanting to transition at that particular time. We used a very good search firm, which is very important as you try to find the people that are currently available. And so we have, we're using an American or a U.S. Boston-based benchmarking, as well as a pan U.S., which is a global benchmarking as well. But it has to be aggressive, or we wouldn't be able to get the kind of talent that we have right now. And the equity incentive program is what we're voting on at the EGM soon, I just wanted to make sure that shareholders understood that this type of equity program is very common in the U.S. In fact, we used one of the most significant global benchmarking firms to help us do this. So we know that we're not outside of the market. We're not too high. We wanted to go right towards the middle, but still be competitive. And for companies of our size and stage of development. And I've had great success with this historically. And what we have found when you bring in team members that have the experience in biotech, they understand the financing, they understand the importance of strategy, the importance of decision making, then that team makes a huge difference in the ability to leverage important assets like Tesomet.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks a lot for the comprehensive answer. This brings me to the next question. Your own holdings in Sanyona amount to over 217,000 warrants in the warrant program 2018-2024. And based on your experience, what effect do such incentive programs have in recruiting the best staff?
Well, it's equity programs in general are quite effective at aligning the interests of employees with those of shareholders. They don't reap any rewards unless they've created rewards for shareholders as well. And the other part of this is they also help retain employees. So these programs are generally 4-year vesting programs in the U.S. and with cliff vesting after 1 year. So you hold an employee clearly for the first year because there's no the options are not available to them, and then they vest over on a monthly basis over the next 3 years. And what I have found is that we've been very successful in every U.S. company I've been involved with, as well as every European company, at retaining these very talented employees. That takes a lot of and recruiting and onboarding these employees is a considerable investment to begin with. And what you don't want to do in a competitive environment like Boston is having them run off to another company. So it's something that's essential for attracting and retaining the best talent. And it's not the only feature, obviously. Probably the most important feature is the culture that's created around the team and the leadership of the CEO and the leadership of the board, for that matter. So when you create the environment that people want to be in, and then you reward them as they produce results. So there's two components always there: the stock options, like I have, and like these executives will have, when shareholders approve it. This will hold them, it will incentivize them, and they will reap some of the rewards that are gained by their hard work. So the future success really depends on the company's ability to maintain a competitive position in attracting and retaining these motivated key people.
Yep, makes sense. And well, just one final question, really, to wrap things up. Where do you see Sanyona 12 months from now?
Well, it's really been an exciting period of growth and transformation at Saniona. We're all excited about the team that's been put together. We've been taking, this there's been a lot of work put into it, interviewing and sorting through the people that were available. And what really motivates all of us is being able to deliver a medicine for these tremendous unmet needs in these two rare eating disorders. We've of course gotten to interact now with some of the key opinion leaders who have focused on these rare eating disorders, and even gotten to know through them the experience of the caregivers and the patients. And it's the most important thing for me is to get Tesomet driving forward so we have an opportunity to treat these patients and have a medicine for them. So that's going to, the initial steps will be clarifying the regulatory path on HO, moving the Prader-Willi program forward in phase 2B trials. We're fortunate to be well funded. We have enough money to drive these programs forward. We're no longer having to go from one financing to the next. So this is a very important opportunity for the company to, over the next 12 months, to really transform the company. And one additional factor I think that bodes well for the future of the company is that we finally have enough money to be able to move our preclinical programs forward. We have been out-licensing our preclinical programs because we're using our money for the Tesomet program. But now we're going to be moving SAN 711 into phase 1 clinical trials. That's a promising compound that has some applications in rare diseases. It also has a possibility of being in neuropathic pain. So it's an excellent compound coming out of our proprietary ion channel discovery platform, which will remain in Denmark. The heart of our research is in Denmark. It's an excellent environment for doing this preclinical work. So we're excited about the future of the company over the next 12 months and beyond that.
Well, great. It sounds like exciting times are ahead, and well, that wraps it up for us. And I just want to thank you for joining us today and answering these questions. And we wish you all the best when moving forward.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks to BioStock for being able to do this.